everyone and welcome! There's been so much new content lately and more is still coming. It looks like Riot ripped a hole in their bag of treats. We got Pike, Clash, new jungle changes, which let's not talk about those, and we have news about the new ARAM. And because this one is very special to me, let's talk about it in more detail. Recently, Riot released a dev post called ARAM Changes Incoming. Permanent quality of life changes and temporary gameplay changes are heading to the Howling Abyss. Here Riot Popcorner and Riot Blitzkrieg revealed amazing news. So let's dive right into it. First of all, looking at this picture, you know what's coming. In previous Ask Riot posts, they mentioned that bringing Butcher's Bridge back is more difficult than you would think. It is not just about slapping a different skin on an entire map. Unlike the Howling Abyss, the Butcher's Bridge is structured in a different way. So it is possible that minions and champions would clip through walls and turrets. It's because the original Butcher's Bridge was made with old technology. But let's see what they say about it. The Maps and Modes team has spent most of its time exploring new gameplay with modes like Star Guardian Invasion and bringing back old favorites like One for All. But that means we haven't given ARAM as much attention as we should have. We are excited to change that in 8.11 and hopefully bring some additional freshness and polish to the Howling Abyss in the process. We recognize that ARAM is already a well-established mode with widespread and dedicated following, and we want to make sure that the changes we make are ones the ARAM community will welcome. To that end, we'll be adding a handful of quality of life features which should smooth out some experiences in Champion Select and at the beginning of the game. These features are intended to resolve some pain points we've seen crop up around ARAM, and as such, the plan is to keep them around for good. We have also got some big gameplay changes heading your way while the Bilgewater event is running. These changes will help us test ways to make ARAM better, and help us to gauge how open the ARAM community is to changes to the mode. Although they are temporary, the gameplay changes that are well received may return to stay in a future patch. So based on what was said here, some of the changes that will be mentioned here are permanent. These changes will stay for good and improve ARAM in general. Other changes are more on the experimental side, and if people like them, they may stay as well. Honestly, I would love to see more experimental changes in ARAM. Imagine every couple of patches Riot adding in crazy new items. These would be very experimental and probably broken in some ways, but if people like them, they might stay. So over time, Riot would build this fun and chill game mode full of stuff that you wouldn't experience normally. Of course, people wouldn't just swap to ARAM as their default way to play, since all the competitiveness would be gone. But it would be their own new game mode that was co-developed by the community. Anyway, let's keep going. Quality of life, Champ Select and the early game. Ever watched someone reroll your favorite champion with a trade request pending? What about rerolling one champion, only to end up with someone worse? Tired of having to type RR in chat and sit back and wait, just in case someone wants to play Bard? Starting in 8.11, whenever you reroll a champion, that champion is sent to the available champions pool, or as we like to call it, the bench, where your teammates, or you, can freely trade for it. Our hope is that this will smooth out Champion Select, and ensure that spending a reroll won't make your team composition worse. And speaking of rerolls, we are slightly increasing the rate at which you earn them. If you have no champions unlocked, you'll earn a reroll about once every 2 games. Increasing based on the number of champions owned. If you own every champion, you'll earn 1 reroll each game, up to a maximum of 2. This change is pretty amazing. I myself am guilty of rerolling champions without asking because sometimes you're just very tired and you don't even feel like interacting with other people, so I automatically reroll. But with this, all champions that quote-unquote dropped for your teammates or you will appear in the UI. And by clicking it, you can swap to that champion. So people won't argue about champions anymore, and it will be just another smoother experience. The changes to rerolls are also great. It makes sense that the more champions you have, the more rerolls you get. Because the more champions you have, the higher the chances of getting someone you don't like. The post continues. At the same time, we are widening the free-to-play pool in ARAM. We are mainly doing this to make sure the mode stays true to its random nature, and to limit the impact of ARAM-only accounts. The new ARAM free-to-play pool will consist of the Summoner's Rift's last 3 free-to-play pools, which means it will usually contain 42 champions. Also, to celebrate Bilgewater and the launch of League's newest champion, Pyke will be in the ARAM free-to-play pool for the duration of the upcoming event. This was a much needed change. Honestly, without a lot of different choices, having the champion chosen randomly is pointless when there is 1 in 10 chance of getting the same champion again. We are making some improvements to champion mastery on ARAM. Mastery scoring was designed primarily for Summoner's Rift, and the algorithm it uses to calculate a score on ARAM underestimates mastery by quite a bit. As a result, it's been pretty tough to get an S on ARAM. We're adjusting the formula in 8.11, so the performance required to get an S will be more consistent with Summoner's Rift. This is something not a lot of people know, but there is a pretty simple guide to get an S rank every time you play ARAM, or at least there was. If you manage to get less than 3 deaths and at least 70% kill participation, you are guaranteed to get an S rank. The most valuable thing in ARAMs is the death count. If you are playing melee, you can get 3 or sometimes 4 if you are playing a champion without escapes. But the less you die, the higher the rank you'll get. Especially if you play champions that are bad in ARAM. It is much easier to get good ranks if you don't die. We've also got a handful of other changes in the quality of life bucket too. There are now base gates at the beginning of the game, like there are on Summoner's Rift, to give players a fair start regardless of how quickly they can finish loading or buying their first items. Like Summoner's Rift, these gates will go down 15 seconds into the game. You'll now begin ARAM games with 662 experience, which is the normal amount for level 3, instead of no experience. This means that it won't take nearly as long to go from level 3 to level 4 on ARAM in the future. We have also changed the surrender time to 8 minutes for the unanimous early surrender vote, and 12 minutes for a normal surrender vote, which is partially to make getting out of a game with disconnected players faster. We considered enabling remake for ARAM, but it's likely that enabling remake would lead to more early disconnects and AFKs, resulting in an experience that is worse for everybody. This makes sense. The more tools to deal with RNG you have, the more likely you are to get the players abuse it. So I understand why remake is not a thing in ARAM. It would make some players go AFK just so the rest of the team can remake the game. After this, we got more information on the limited experimental changes. Let's move on to the event-only gameplay changes. There are a bunch of things we want to try, both to give the mode a unique feel during Curse of the Drowned, and to get a sense of what gameplay changes would be healthy in the long term. Right now, all of the changes we are about to talk about are event-only, but the things that are well received may find their way back to the Howling Abyss permanently. Notice that here they confirm the name of the event, Curse of the Drowned. I don't know what to assume from the name itself, but there you have it. Dark Harvest. We have a pretty light touch approach to balance in ARAM, but Dark Harvest has overperformed so strongly and so consistently, despite a small previous nerf, that it's very nearly a must-take rune, and that makes the whole process of rune selection less interesting. During Bilgewater, we'll be reducing Soul Essence from champion takedowns from 5 to 4, and Soul Essence from cannon minion kills from 4 to 2. Warmock's Armor. And while we're on the topic of must-take, let's talk about Warmock's Armor. In a way, Warmock's breaks the core rule of ARAM by letting you heal back to full health in a short period of time by avoiding combat. That makes it quite strong. So strong that we have seen it be built on just about every champion, even after the max health requirement was raised. As a result, we are removing Warmock's Armor from ARAM for the duration of the event. Ultimately, we are making both of these changes to test whether they make ARAM healthier and more enjoyable. Be sure to let us know what you think. Makes sense. The point of ARAM is not to come back unless you die. With Warmocks, you don't have to do that at all. Limited time items. We'll be introducing 3 new items to ARAM while the Bilgewater event is going on. All 3 are intended to give melee attackers and short-range mages, especially assassins, some more gameplay options. These are the champions that tend to struggle in ARAM, and we're hoping that giving them some extra tools will help even out the battlefield. The items that are mentioned here already appeared on PBE and were brought up by Surrender at 20. Ghostwalkers. A pair of boots only melee champions can buy which let you walk through walls and on air. We stole them from Kane. These boots give you 45 movement speed and have an active ability. Become ghostly for 6 seconds, ignoring terrain collision. While inside terrain, you gain 125 movement speed and become untargetable, stealthed and silenced. 60 seconds cooldown. So, once you step inside a wall, you gain massive movement speed, and you become completely untargetable and invisible. As a trade-off, you can't cast spells until you leave the wall. Spectral Cutlass. An AD/lethality item that, when activated, marks the ground beneath its bearer. A short time later, that bearer is automatically returned to that mark. The item gives you 70 attack damage and 18 lethality. The active description says, mark your current location. After 4 seconds, you will return to the marked location. 60 seconds cooldown. The item also has a cheaper version called Lifeline, which does the exact same thing. However, it does have doubled cooldown. This is later upgraded into Spectral Cutlass. This is essentially automated Echo Ultimate. I can already see its use for Assassin Champions and any other squishy diver. Bloodletter's Veil. A close cousin to Banshee's Veil. This AP magic penetration item shields its owner when they do damage with an ability. The item gives you 75 ability power, 350 health, 15 magic penetration, and after hitting an enemy champion with a damaging ability, you gain a spell shield for 2 seconds that blocks one incoming spell. 30 seconds cooldown on that. This is yet another item to help you with engaging on the enemy safely. These items will appear on the recommended items page for all champions during the event. So go ahead and try them to get in, get out, and live to tell the tale. Team Health Relics. The last of the gameplay changes, but certainly not the least, is a new approach to health packs. During the event, whenever you pick up a health relic, you'll see the following. In addition to restoring a little bit of health and mana, health relics will now cast a huge redemption-like heal. But be careful, the healing affects both teams equally, which means you'll have to defend the perimeter to stop your opponents from nabbing some of the sweet HP for themselves. We have 2 goals with these changes. We want to let you share the health with your team, and we want to create some interesting gameplay around health relics. We fully expect some massive teamfights to break out when both teams try to sneak into the same ring. In addition, we have changed how much health and mana the relics give. They used to give flat amount per level, about 20, but now they restore a percentage of your missing health and mana, meaning that they are far more effective when you are low on either. This is quite a large buff overall, so we increased the respawn time from 60 seconds to 90 seconds per relic. And to help you keep better track of health packs, we are now displaying their respawn time in the jungle timer area above the scoreboard. This is an awesome addition. ARAM always lacked something to fight over. In normal Summoner's Rift you have many different goals that help you win the game. You push for towers, you take dragons, you contest buffs. But in ARAM the only thing you could do was to push. So now there is something to fight over. Not only that, but because the heal is more effective the lower on health you are. If you fight for it and you go all in, you might sacrifice a lot of your health in the engage, but you'll get it back from the heal. This is an interesting new mechanic that will spice up the game. Return to Butcher's Bridge. And finally, Butcher's Bridge is back. For the duration of the Bilgewater event, all ARAM games will take place here. Butcher's Bridge is several years old now, and we first made it without the benefits of our new map pipelines and tools. We decided to overhaul both Butcher's Bridge and the Howling Abyss, bringing them into the environment tag we first used on Project Overcharge last year. The upgraded map uses our new lighting system, supports relative team colors, and is significantly easier to maintain. We hope you enjoy trying out these changes as much as we enjoyed working on them. We'll be listening to your feedback, so please let us know what you think. In particular, we want to know if you'd like to see any of the temporary changes come to ARAM full time. Thanks for taking the time to read, and we'll get you out on the bridge. Looking at the images, I honestly can't tell if the map was retextured and enhanced, or if it is just the work of their lighting system and their new tech. It definitely looks more polished and clean, but I have no idea what's the cause of this. What I do know, however, is that I will have a lot of fun roaming around with the camera tool on this map. Some of you guys may have already noticed that Pike's teaser took place on the Butcher's Bridge. Some of the areas there match the buildings around the bridge, so we know that Riot did hide some details in there. I also wonder if the old Gangplank announcer will return as well. It gave it really nice flavor last time. And just looking at the entire bridge, I think I prefer it instead of the Howling Abyss. It just feels more like a part of the world of League of Legends, since a major part of the Burning Tide story happened on this very bridge. It was there that Twisted Fate jumped down to avoid Graves and Gangplank despite not knowing how to swim. So I already feel more connected to it. That is not to say that the Holding Abyss isn't also lore-based. Obviously, that's the bridge that Ornn made. But that's it for this video. Let me know what you think about these changes and what bridge you prefer. If you like this video, feel free to rate it and subscribe for more lore and news. If you'd like to chat, links to our social media will be in the description, as well as our stream and P.O. Box if you'd like to send something in. Of course, massive shout out to our patrons for going the extra mile, you guys are amazing. And with that, thank you all so much for being here and for your support, you know I really appreciate it. And as always, thank you come again.